The moment that changed my life didn't arrive softly or politely. It exploded into the room, loud enough to freeze time, loud enough to make every mistake I'd ever made rush back to me at once. I stood there with a file clutched to my chest, heart pounding, as my boss's voice cut through the air and landed straight on me like lightning. I had missed every hint, ignored every sign, brushed aside every feeling, until that single sentence shattered the distance I had carefully built around myself. Before you go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen between ordinary people, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. I was never the kind of person who noticed subtle things. Life had trained me to focus on survival, not signals. Growing up, love was something unstable, something that arrived loudly and left without warning. By the time I entered adulthood, I had mastered the art of emotional blindness. I showed up, worked hard, kept my head down, and never expected more than what I could earn with effort alone. That mindset followed me into the corporate building where I spent most of my waking hours, a glass-in, steel tower that reflected ambition but hid loneliness in its corners. My boss, Amelia, was the kind of woman people noticed without trying. Not because she was loud or dramatic, but because she carried herself with a calm certainty that made others lean in. She was respected, admired, and quietly feared in meetings. To me, she was simply my supervisor, the person who reviewed my reports, pushed me harder than anyone else, and somehow remembered details about my life I didn't recall sharing. I told myself her attention was professional, nothing more. After all, someone like her wouldn't look twice at someone like me. The hints were there from the beginning, though I didn't recognize them as such. She stayed late on evenings when I was drowning in deadlines, not to supervise but to sit nearby, working on her own laptop, matching my silence. She defended my ideas in meetings even when senior executives dismissed them, calmly redirecting the conversation back to my work. She noticed when I skipped lunch, when I looked exhausted, when I seemed smaller than usual. I translated all of it into management style, into mentorship, into responsibility. Anything but affection. My biggest challenge wasn't the workload or the pressure. It was the wall I'd built inside myself. Years of disappointment had taught me that hope was dangerous. Trusting feelings meant risking humiliation, rejection, or worse, indifference. So when Amelia's kindness felt warmer than necessary, I cooled it down with logic. When her eyes lingered just a second longer, I convinced myself it was nothing. Missing hints became my survival skill. Life outside the office didn't help. I lived alone in a small apartment where silence pressed in at night. Friends had drifted away into marriages, children, and lives that didn't include me. My routine was simple: work, sleep, repeat. Amelia's presence disrupted that routine, and disruptions made me uneasy. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself I was wrong. As months passed, the emotional tension grew thicker, even if I refused to name it. The office buzzed with rumors of restructuring, layoffs, and high-stakes projects. Stress levels rose, tempers shortened, and expectations multiplied. Through it all, Amelia remained steady, but I noticed cracks when she thought no one was looking. A tired sigh here, a distant stare there. I wanted to ask if she was okay, but I didn't. Caring openly felt too intimate. The turning point crept closer disguised as opportunity. A major presentation loomed, one that could define the future of our department. I worked obsessively, driven by fear of failure and a desire to prove my worth. Amelia pushed me, challenged me, refined my work until it was sharper than anything I'd done before. The night before the presentation, I almost sent her a message thanking her, telling her how much her belief meant to me. I deleted it. Gratitude felt safer when kept silent. The day of the presentation arrived heavy with expectation. The conference room filled with executives, screens glowing, coffee cups untouched. My heart hammered as I stood ready to present months of work. Halfway through, a senior leader questioned my data aggressively, casting doubt on my conclusions. Old panic rose fast. I stumbled, words tangling, confidence slipping. Before I could recover, Amelia intervened, not gently but firmly, reframing the data, validating my work, and making it clear that she stood behind me completely. Something shifted in that moment. I felt seen, not as an employee, but as a person worth defending. The presentation ended successfully, applause echoing off glass walls. Relief washed over me, followed by exhaustion. I thought that was the peak of the day. I was wrong. As the room began to empty, conversations overlapping, laughter returning, Amelia turned toward me. There was a tension in her posture I had never seen before, a vulnerability she usually kept hidden. I expected feedback, maybe congratulations. Instead, what came was raw, unfiltered truth. Her voice rose, not in anger but in urgency, and the words she had held back for so long spilled out in front of everyone. She declared her love, not softly, not privately, but openly, as if afraid that if she didn't say it now, she never would. Time stopped. The room fell silent. Every eye turned toward us. My mind went blank, then flooded all at once with every missed moment, every dismissed gesture, every chance I had ignored. Heat rushed to my face. Shock gave way to realization, and realization to regret. I had been so busy protecting myself that I had failed to protect her heart. The aftermath was messy and human. People left awkwardly, whispers trailing behind them. Policies, professionalism, consequences, all of it loomed. But none of that mattered in the seconds after. What mattered was the look on Amelia's face, a mixture of fear and relief, as if she had finally set down a weight she'd been carrying alone. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I questioned everything, my judgment, my worth, my right to respond at all. I replayed memories with new clarity, seeing affection where I had once seen obligation. I realized how my silence had likely felt like rejection, how my emotional distance might have hurt more than honesty ever could. The struggle wasn't deciding how I felt. It was deciding whether I was brave enough to feel at all. Change didn't happen overnight. It came in quiet conversations, in honest admissions, in acknowledging fear instead of hiding from it. I learned that missing hints wasn't just about obliviousness. It was about fear of hope. Amelia, in her courage, had forced me to confront that fear head on. Slowly, the office returned to normal, though something fundamental had shifted. Respect remained, but so did a deeper understanding of boundaries, timing, and choice. What mattered most was that I had learned something essential. Love doesn't always arrive the way we expect, and sometimes it waits patiently while we learn how to see. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something. If this journey of missed chances, courage, and emotional awakening has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement tells us these stories matter. And just before the ending, leave a comment below telling us whether you've ever missed a sign from someone who cared about you, and what you learned from it. In the end, I didn't just learn that my boss loved me. I learned that I had been loved long before I was ready to notice, and that realization changed the way I moved through the world. I began listening more closely, looking more carefully, and allowing myself to hope again. Because sometimes the loudest declarations aren't meant to embarrass us, they are meant to wake us up.